how do you know which procedures are denied, unless it's public information somehow by the competitor?
Oh, they don't share information on what procedures were denied, but they share information on what procedures were done.
So we can kind of get it by by elimination, or you can still kind of figure out what's going on and what procedures. So there is, in the sense of that they are studying as much public information as possible.
Correct.
And looking at, like a lot of scientists do studies, the doctors do studies, epidemiology, to figure out, out of so many thousands of these procedures, how many of them are successful. That's a very common study. So from that, they can determine, and they can determine diagnoses too. So there's studies of diagnoses, right? All right, you have a bad heart rhythm. Should we leave it alone, or do we take drugs? And what happens, For people who got left alone, what happened? For people who took this drug, what happened? From that, I guess the insurance companies could figure out, all right, well, since that is a very expensive drug, we'll call that an exotic treatment, we'll deny that drug because, one, it's expensive, two, it's not always effective. They'll come up with some other reason, but the main reason is cost.
Right.
So I can imagine that. So is that how they collude? They're able to get the public information enough, and they kind of, it's kind of like when you go to the store and you see the bag of diapers is, $8.95 or whatever, and for one company, and it's $8.95 for the other company, miraculously.
Yeah.
Both charging the same thing. There's some collusion just by public information that's available, and they can collude to deny care just by observing their competitor through the public information. I know I'm belaboring the point, but is that what you think's going on?
Yes, that's what's going on.
Okay. When you were with the PPO, were you now explain a little bit how the PPO works with the insurance company? How does was it an insurance company, or was it like a broker, or something related to it?
We were like a hospital and doctor broker that works with various insurance companies, and the insurance company acted as if our PPO was their own internally contracted PPO, but in fact they were just borrowing ours. And PPO is essentially a list of doctors and hospitals with which we held contracts for discounted services.
Oh.
And the insurance companies would utilize us on their healthcare programs as their internal PPO.
I see. Okay, so you managed the network and brokered the deals in aggregate. So in aggregate services, you're able to discount services because you have this network. Okay, I understand. So then, in that scenario, or in the scenario of adding the government option, how would it affect the PPO's business? Would they, let's ask it about the doctors first. If you're a doctor, and there's still private insurance options out there, and then a public option, does it work kind of like Medicare, where some doctors take Medicare patients, some don't, and they kind of ratio the patients they try to keep in a constant ratio because they know that maybe the profit isn't so high on the Medicare side?
That's correct, yeah. And some of our contracts were based upon the standard payment offered by Medicare, whereas we would offer 110% of that amount.
Oh, okay. So then we would just essentially have more overall care being done by the government, so should the person elect to use the government option. But will they mandate doctors to use it?
I highly doubt it, because that'll put doctors out of business.
Yeah, some doctors wouldn't. That would force probably a shortage of doctors.
Yes, it would.
So that's not something they would try right away. Now the big fear, like we talked in the beginning, is that this becomes a poison pill by kind of mission creep. Once you get your foot in the door, you start kind of taking over all aspects of the care and make it very hard for insurance companies to compete. So insurance companies would, in theory, start going out of business if the government was competing on all fronts in all kinds of care.
The insurance companies aren't going to go out of business. Matter of fact, I think it'll be good for them in some respects, because the people that'll opt for the public option on care are the sickest ones, the ones most likely in need of treatment. They're your 1 in 10 patients who suck up all the costs. Okay. And so these people with the pre-existing conditions are going to opt for the government's program, and the people without pre-existing conditions that have no trouble getting private insurance, they will continue with private insurance if they so choose. I'm just saying that the government program will remove a lot of the high-risk people from the private insurance pool.
Yeah. Interesting. So business will shrink but not disappear for the private insurers, you think?
Not at all. They wouldn't make money if most people got sick. Most people don't get sick. Most people believe that they have good insurance, but they really don't, because of the fact that if they are the 1 in 10 people that gets really sick, then they get the joy of going through the appeals process because their insurance company denied their claim. Suddenly they find out they don't have good insurance.
Yeah, some of the HMOs are still out there, aren't they? Those are still your kind of low-end plans, right? Sure,
but they give good bang for your buck. Kaiser Permanente is a good example.
How do you mean good bang for your buck? Because even though it's low cost, you still get some decent overall care?
Yes, that's correct.
But you might not
have to go to their hospital, you have to go to their clinic, and you have to go to their doctors. And you may have to wait in line a little bit, but you would have had to wait in line in the doctor's waiting room anyway. These people just do a high volume business, and they do a good job of what they do.
Yeah, so that's kind of an in-between service there, where it's more low end because you're paying less, but you're going to wait longer. Quality might not be as good as your PPO.
Well, you have to know how to work within the program and realize that the doctor is being paid to find nothing wrong with you, and you have to press the issue if you're sick.
Yeah. It reminds me of that scene in what was that movie with Helen Hunt where this kid was sick and she just went on a tirade about the HMO. It's kind of funny. Goddamn fucking HMOs, on and on like that. And I think Richard Mazur played the private doctor, was sitting in there. He goes, yeah, I think that is the technical name for them.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's. Thanks again for clearing that up. Let's call it to be continued, and we'll see what the House passes, and then we'll watch the sparks fly. During August. When the propaganda war continues. So. Okay. Great. Now let's switch over to a fun.